Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master Dave, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Well, after thoroughly blowing out my eardrums, attempting to, get the audio started, and not remembering that I also have to run checks of gain levels and everything, I couldn't hear my mic level. And then when the Darth came in, it was like, just ear shattering. It was a lot of fun.
Screamo. It was Screamo. It's fine.
It was nuts. And I had forgotten that you were actually over here for the last episode, and I had that particular channel channeled for a physical mic and not our normal setup that we generally use here.
Yeah, this is why I really should stay in the basement. For those of you that don't know, I actually have a dungeon basement under his house, and that's where I keep my main recording gear. Instead of actually doing it in person, it's just easier that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
We tend to have lightsaber battles otherwise, so it just keeps the house in good shape.
Oh, goodness. Well, today we are actually going to be jumping back into comics, which is something we don't necessarily do a ton of, but we did our main Star Wars line. And now we're going to be jumping into the 2020 Darth Vader line. I have to mention the year because every year there seems to be a new Vader line.
Yeah, and I had all but one of these in physical form. And let me tell you, it took just a painful amount of time on Comixology to find the real series that we're doing now. You'd think it would pop up first because of date, but no. Like, I had to Google it and everything. I had no idea which was which until I read the description. It showed each comic and the title of them. It was terrible.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting how that works for this particular run. The 2018, or was it 2017 or 2018 that was we fondly always call the horse one.
Yeah, that was 2018. I think 17 was Target Vader.
No. Target Vader was newer than that, I think. I could
really?
be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's newer. Because that spawned Bounty Hunters. So I believe that was either 2019 or even 2020 itself. I think it was 2019. But the 2019 Vader comic, honestly, I think is probably one of the best, but that's a Charles Soule thing. Mm-hmm. And now into the 2020 lineup, and as we were kind of talking about future ideas for episodes, as we kind of do now because the planning's nice, I actually realized as I was going back through the episodes, I guess I had talked about like 4 issues of this, and I think I remember why I even did that, and that was because you were on your honeymoon.
Was that when that dropped? Okay.
That was around when you got married, because it was like either the next episode or the episode before was like when we had your friends over and we did that.
Yeah,
that
the group
episode.
one, like what got you into Star Wars.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so I think that was like a week where I was, it's like, well, I'm going to put something out. And there had been 4 issues of this, so I talked about the first 4 issues. So technically, this is going to be a bit of a rehash because we're going to go through issues 1 through 10.
Everyone has a rehash on their channel. It's okay. It'll be different.
Yeah. Yeah. And we actually have quite a long hiatus until we get issue 11. What did I say? April, the end of April, 28th? Yeah.
Ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to make way for everything else that's coming out. And
yeah, I think we kind of had the same thing with the mainline Star Wars series too, though. Maybe that's just a thing when you hit issue 10, they take a little break. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like the greatest of comic book people, collectors, readers, so I'm sure that is kind of a thing, I guess. But
it'd be
for
like
me,
seasons almost.
Yeah. Well, the other thing here too is that this is technically split up into 4 parts. So you have the Dark Heart of the Sith, which was issues 1 through 5, Into the Fire, issues 6 through 10, and then, I guess technically it's 6 through 11, maybe. and then War of the Bounty Hunters is like the last two, or at least that's what I'm seeing where I'm looking.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Comics, man. It's just kind of a foreign language in a way.
World.
Yeah. Sure. I guess.
It has been fun, though, to kind of get away from books and focus on something else. It's been entertaining, so I think we'll definitely stick with comics for quite a while. It's a good time for it.
The main Star Wars line actually tells a decent story, and this
It does.
We've said this before, so there's no real need to hash and rehash. But I mean, the problem has always been that comics don't always do a great job of telling a complete story, or it takes a very long time for that in attention spans, and having to dig through varying artwork and everything. Sometimes it can be a little
Anime-ish.
Well, true.
Kind of long haul.
Yeah. But as far as the, I guess, Star Wars comic lines go, I think that they're pretty straightforward for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, again, so that's what we're going through this week, and hopefully you guys sort of enjoy some more comic book episodes. We still have the Afra line and Bounty Hunters to talk about as we go through. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, as time goes by, more comics come out in the other lines and yada, yada, yada. So eventually we'll maybe get up to like present day.
Yeah.
Not be like almost a year behind.
Well, we are on High Republic. We at least have that.
Yeah, true.
For the most part, we obviously are like a week behind on issue 3, but we will get that out pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure. We'll take a look at that as well. And then I guess kind of just a little bit of what we had talked about here. So we actually have sort of planned out the next basically 7 weeks, which is pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
We'll be diving back into the New Jedi Order next week, and that was Balance Point. Then we will be starting some Rebels stuff, which is kind of my favorite series. So Rebels Season 1, we're going to go season by season, so we'll start with Season 1. Then we'll dive into Afra, finally. Try and take a look at that comic again. Rehash comic, complete restart. I don't remember how many issues that did that. I think that the last line had like 75 issues. So
and that led up to the audio drama, right? And then it reset at that point.
I don't know. I don't think that's. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I don't think that it led up to the audio drama at all. No.
Oh, okay.
I think it was just another lineup. I mean, Marvel. I mean, Marvel does. It's not just like Lucasfilms, but like any comic. I mean, you have all these lines and delineations and alternate stuff that goes on, which, to be honest, is another reason why I'm not a huge comic book guy.
Well, coming in from the outside, it's kind of hard to keep up with all of it. It's pretty different than what we're used to, so.
No doubt. So after that, we'll be jumping into the second book in the Aftermath series, which I believe that was Life Debt. Pretty sure that was Life Debt. And we are touching on some of the various sequence of events that happen in Aftermath. We did Victory's Price last week. Mm-hmm. So Victory's Price directly coincides with the events of Empire's End. So we're going to jump back into that. I had thought we finished that series, but we only got through the first book and then kind of stopped. But we'll get back in there. And then we'll be jumping back into the New Jedi Order, Rebel Season 2, and then finally, at least on this list, we'll be rock and rolling right up to the new Thrawn book. Thrawn Ascendance. Yeah. What is the official title of that book? Maybe I should remember the actual full title. Oh yeah, Thrawn Ascendancy Greater Good. So that'll be released April 27th. We'll be reviewing it the week after, so we have enough time to get through it and read it. So a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah, exciting time.
Yeah, and another little tidbit of news. I don't remember hearing this, but apparently on November 2nd of this year, E.K. Johnson's got a new book, Queen's Hope.
Yeah, I don't think either of us were aware that this was going to be a trilogy. Probably should have known that, but it is exciting news. I love both of the other two, so
yeah.
This is set in Clone Wars era, correct?
Clone Wars, yeah, during the actual Clone Wars. Apparently, like from the general synopsis I read, Padme's kind of like off on the front line, and like Sabe is basically doing the senatorial duties. Mm-hmm. So, I think Queen. Which one came first? It was Queen's. Wow, which one did come first? Shadow or Peril?
Shadow.
Okay.
Shadow came first.
Okay. I think we both really enjoyed Queen's Shadow. Mm-hmm. Queen's Peril was also very good in its own right. I think, again, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure that we both enjoyed Queen's Shadow a little bit more than Peril.
Yeah.
But I think Peril tried to be a little bit larger of a book, like a little bit more to it.
Hopefully, I'm kind of interested to see if this new one leads us right into Revenge of the Sith, almost like Clone Wars did, right up to Order 66. It'll be interesting to see. Because we did have some time jumps in the other books, so...
Well, sometimes we have to refresh our memory as much as anyone else, but Queen's Peril was during the events of Episode 1. And then Queen's Shadow was when she first started in the Senate. Mm-hmm. So Queen's Hope will be like a sequel to Queen's Shadow, whereas Queen's Peril was the prequel. So they just wrote them out of order, like everything else we do.
Like everything Star Wars does.
Yeah. Which is fine. But yeah, it should be interesting. I have enjoyed these books quite a bit. Looks like it's Dunzo because they even have a page count, 352 pages, which seems to be pretty in line with what Shadow was.
Wonder why they're waiting so long to release it.
Well, who knows? Schedules and money. I don't know.
Edit, re-edit, edit.
Yeah, and I'm sure it might not be 352. I don't want to be the authority on that, but at any rate, we'll see. We'll see. So I guess aside from all of that good stuff, how has your week been? Or how has your week? Not how was your week been? That's improper English. How was your week?
My week was good.
Excellent.
Yeah. It was great, finally getting some warmer weather. Still feels like winter in the morning, so it's stupid, but it's Ohio for you. Enjoying the nice wet weather. We got a ridiculous storm the other day. I don't know if you got the same, but just gearing up. We got a boat show coming up and waiting on the lake to fill, so busy time for us.
Sounds really boring.
That's fine.
I think you brought everybody down, man.
That's fine. You talk about work and see if that excites anyone. Our jobs aren't super exciting to anyone, I'm sure.
Let me tell you about working hard, because I'm a working man. Yeah. Well, no, I actually don't remember it storming. I mean, we got a little bit of rain, but we're in a weird alley where I'm at where we miss a lot of weather. It's, it can be kind of good, especially in the winter. Everybody's like, oh, we're under like 50 feet of snow. It's 1970, whatever, all over again. And then I'm like, really? Because, it's like sunny and 75 over here, guys. I don't know what's up with you.
Sounds like we got some spells going on in his hometown. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Everybody in town got out their aerosol cans like they warned about in the 90s and just started spraying them towards the heavens or something. We will be our own temperate climate.
Ozone. zone.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, we generally miss it. But yeah, it has been nice. I've been able to, get out and, take my walks and everything like an old guy. Yeah, I need to. It's still not like warm. I'm kind of waiting for it to warm up a little bit so I can go play some basketball again and kind of do that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's been pretty decent, But yeah, still pretty cold in the mornings. So kind of like a late fall type of feel almost.
Feels like Ohio out, Just typical Ohio.
For sure. Yeah, and I think we both talked about it. It's kind of around that time where really need to start getting out on trails and stuff like that, and being outdoors. And I already have I'm actually gonna this coming week. I'm taking a 4-day weekend so that I can start to complete some projects that I've been wanting to do. Really interesting stuff, by the way. Not really. Got some gutter work to do and some painting and some house work and so forth. But I think I'm probably going to try and just do like a quick hike. There's a few trails that aren't too far from me that aren't really camping trails, but you can hike them and everything. So probably be doing something in that vein too. Attempt to get out a little bit. I think we're getting closer to the point where we're all going to return to some semblance of sanity here at some point. We can kind of get back to living a little bit, and should be good times. Warmer weather does usually breed far more optimism in people and a want to go out and travel and see things and enjoy life.
Yeah, it's crazy. Those last few cold weeks, it's almost like anticipation, just waiting. It's going to get warm soon. You're just kind of so apathetic and just done. So it is nice how that changes so quickly.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our series here because we've got 10 comics to go through, and I'm pretty sure that the last time we did this, it took us 2 hours. Like pretty much almost all of our episodes they've been really long.
Yeah.
So yeah, start with episode 1, issue 1, not episode 1. And you know what? I could have sworn that I had the like the first printing normal cover, but apparently I don't. Unless it's somewhere else. But I do have a pretty sick cover. They've been doing these Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary covers, and
I have a few of those as well. They're pretty sick. I love them.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave you all the ones that I didn't like.
Yeah, of course.
Kidding.
That's fine.
I'm trying to think about... I bought a few lately, too. They're not immediately in my reach, but like there was some scenes from Dagobah on some of the recent releases, variant cover releases. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I think when the Vader comic first came out, it was pretty darn popular, and I was having a hard time. Like, I would have had to have gotten to my shop like in the morning. It seemed like. Now, I will say now though, I don't know if fervor's gone, excitement's gone a bit, but I do notice now that because generally, I stop working at about 5. Maybe a little after. I generally work, eat, and then work out, and then I'll hit the comic shop by about, 7:30. After I take a shower. And I still see comics there. Like they're just not selling out, and I don't think he's adding any more stock. I honestly wonder if people are just like so down about things that they're just not even enjoying that, because I'll tell you, like, TV ratings, not to get too crazy here, but TV ratings have plummeted on a lot of things lately too. People just aren't. They're in their homes, but they really don't seem to be like.
Well, I think everyone's kind of burnt out on these forms of entertainment at this point. I mean, obviously we've been lucky to work through all this, but for the people who haven't, I mean, you'd burn through so much of this in a month's time, you might just be tired of it, and you're trying to find new activities. So I can see that happening for sure.
Yeah, and of course that's only through the small view of what I have here. I mean, hell, where you live, you don't even have a comic shop, like a real comic shop.
Yeah, we have like 2 racks and a game store. It's pretty pathetic, and they usually don't have Star Wars, which I don't understand. You'd think that and Marvel would be the 2 mainstays, but
I mean, at least by Marvel and DC. I mean, you don't have to get like Dark Horse.
Oh, they're
the
super
ones,
into DC. There's barely any Marvel even.
Yeah. Anyway, so but just an observation. I just thought we have 2 comic shops in here, and normally if I can't find it at one, I can find it at the other for the most part. But at the beginning, I wasn't able to get the normal cover, which I kind of like to get the normal cover, and then if the variant cover is super cool, I might also get that. But it just all depends. And then I've been buying used seconds and so forth.
Right. Yeah.
Get up there. They've just stopped asking. It's like, did you mean to pick up 2?
I'm sure that you got some weird looks at first with that.
There were a few times. That's why I stopped going to the one comic shop.
It was never for you. It's my fault.
It was never a very comfortable atmosphere in there. And so okay, I can equate this to a lot of things because when I was young, I mean, I still work out now, but like when I was younger, I worked out at either the YMCA back home or the 24-hour gym later. Sometimes that is a very, a crowd. It's a crowd and people get intimidated to go in. It's the same thing with music shops. Sometimes it's intimidating to go to a guitar store. If you're a newbie or, I have my Squier Bullet Strat and my whatever solid state amp and my DoD 250 preamp. Actually, I doubt that's probably I'm thinking about like things when the Arion. No, nobody has Arion anymore. They're too expensive because people nostalgia and stuff. Like Boss pedal, and no, you don't have the new like Carolyn Effects Hawaiian Pizza. That's an actual pedal, by the way. It's a fuzz pedal.
That does not surprise me.
It's sick. It's a sick pedal. I kind of wish I had one, but it's like over $200.
Does it sound like pineapples?
No.
Sound like pineapples?
It's a gimmick. I mean, it's just a gimmick, but it's a nice fuzz pedal. But, I mean, that gets intimidating. And, you go into a shop and you almost feel sort of intimidated buying comics at times.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care all that much, but, like, you kind of feel a weird vibe. It's like you're not one of us. It's like, what are you talking about? I mean, stop asking about what comics I'm buying. Just sell them to me. It's not like I'm buying giant.
Do you need help? Do you know? Did you mean to come in here, sir?
Well, it's not like I'm buying the giant boob Vampirella, comic that's probably porn. Not really, but I mean, like. The Uwu comics. I'm just like legitimately, I go in there, I buy Star Wars comics, and then every now and again, if something catches my eye that seems cool, I might buy it. But pretty much all I do is buy Star Wars comics. So
at some point, that should send some kind of message, you'd think.
Well, I really should like set up a poll, but I just don't. It was funny because like the guy at the shop that I normally go to, he just got some. Again, it's not in this room; it's in another room. But there's a new comic series out, I guess, that has like Keanu Reeves on it. I don't know if it's like a cyberpunk. No, I don't think it's cyberpunk, but I think it's like a cyber. I don't know if it's even tied to that. I don't remember what it's called, but it has Keanu Reeves on the cover. And he had like a ton of different variant covers. Apparently it's like blah, blah, blah. I don't want to say rare, but anyway, he had 2 versions of it that if you were a poll customer, you could get one for free. And he's like, well, I know you don't set up a poll, but you're here every week. So you're basically a poll customer. So just take one of those comics there. He's like, oh yeah, sick. I'll take a free comic. Haven't read it yet, but anyway, I probably should set up a poll because it would be much easier.
Right.
But I just never think about it. I just don't want to.
Yeah, like you said, see, for me, I don't even have those options because we just don't have that kind of, I don't know, community around here just isn't all that nerdy. So a comic store just probably wouldn't survive very long.
I don't think that that's true, though. I mean, I honestly feel like it could. Like, all you'd have to do is get like some little tiny hole in the wall You get one big rack. You have some T-shirts and the trades, the trade books. You don't have to do that much. I mean, I don't think I've taken you into the smaller shop, but it's a small little tiny shop. Mm-hmm. And in your town, I guarantee the rent's a lot cheaper than what it is here for a business. So I don't see why that would be a huge issue. But there again, I don't know. Just have to have the person to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, hey, you want to finally talk about this comic?
No. Hey, I'm about to run out of memory card space, by the way. No, I'm kidding. I deleted everything before we started. We're fine.
Don't pull a me, okay? Don't pull a me on that one.
Well, there was one time we started, and for a split second, I only hit record once, and that doesn't actually start the recording process. So that would have been great.
Are you telling me that you didn't hit record and we've lost half of the conversation?
Let me check. No, we're fine.
Okay.
No, this was weeks ago.
And that's why I back up. That's why I back up the audio from the Zoom onto this. All right, let's get into this. So, issue 1. Now,
power.
Yeah, and again, we're not going to necessarily try and go frame by frame. I think if we can get the general plot of the story and like favorite parts, that's what we'll do. I will, however, make a casual observation. This comic seems to be relying very heavily on nostalgia.
Yeah, so many flashbacks. And are they all relevant flashbacks? That's the question.
Well, I think they are, but I think they're trying to get you in the feels a bit. And I know the first time reading through this, the first like 4, I did have some pretty positive feelings about it, but I think it becomes a little bit too much of a repetitive motif. But anyway,
I think we just weren't the biggest fans of the second act. So hopefully third act, fourth act will be a little different.
Yeah, I agree.
But yes, the first act was very good. A lot of nostalgia, a lot of cool scenes. Vader's done really well in this, even down to just the black dialogue box.
Yeah,
everything just. Sure. How do you like the Death Troopers? Like you can't actually read what they're saying.
No, I think that's good.
I think that's kind of neat. And the first time I read it, I'm like, is my screen just messing up or what? Oh, yeah, Death Trooper thing, of course.
Well, the only time we really get dialogue from Death Troopers is in Thrawn. He has those 2 Death Troopers that travel with him, but they're not in the trooper armor. So, at least not the entire time. So they actually do talk, but regardless, so this particular comic series picks up after the events of Empire Strikes Back. I mean, like directly after the events. The first few panels are Vader cutting off Luke's hand and, asking him to join him. Mm-hmm. And then he goes on a little secret mission, to learn more about the boy. Picks up another sassy droid.
Yes, a secret mission that is not the least bit secret whatsoever.
Not secret at all. The Emperor clearly knows about this, but effectively Vader is trying to retrace Luke's path, essentially, trying to figure out. I think he's trying to figure out, one, if he really truly is like the Emperor, it's like search your feelings, it to be true.
Yeah.
But he's not trusting his feelings. He actually wants proof.
And we also kind of have this mission of vengeance because he feels like he needs to deal with everybody that made Luke, quote unquote, weak. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. In his opinion, he's weak. So we get some travel to Tatooine, which is interesting. He actually, goes in to the home of the Lars homestead here, which he had been in obviously years ago when he killed them all, not just the men.
Not the Lars homestead, by the way.
What's that?
Not the Lars homestead. He did not kill the Lars homestead. Just, little raider dudes.
Yes.
Wasn't even in one of the movies. It was just kind of referenced in a book.
What are you talking about, man?
You're not paying attention. It's fine. Just move on.
I don't want to pay attention. I want you to make sense. tired.
Well, if you pay attention, things make sense.
No, I don't want to. Anyway, he rustles through Luke's tools. Oh, hey, look, a bath. This would be so sick for my squeaky... Shut up, droid. He was annoying. The droid was annoying.
Most droids are annoying, let's be honest.
And I'll tell you another thing. We get this falling motif, too, because like Luke falls, after, and then, it's Shmi. Oh, it's Padme. It's me.
And this happens in multiple
God.
comics. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
very psychedelic, like we're having some weird trippy stuff going on here in his mind.
Yeah, but I will say I actually think that could be done kind of cool in like an actual video format though.
It could.
When you think about it, cuz again, it's this flashback to a past that you've left and you're confronting the mistakes that you've made. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of ways, it's actually a very interesting way to do it. But again, because it's so over and over and over again in the comics, it kind of becomes, it feels a little bit more parody in the comic book form. And I don't know why that is.
Well, it's almost like don't trust your audience to pick up on it the first time, so we're just going to do it again and again and again until they realize it,
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyway, Vader, upon exiting the little homestead here, they're attacked by not Lando pirates.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. The first time I saw it, it's like, oh, no, never mind. That's not who I thought it was.
Yeah, and him coming out of the fire as he was being shot at, that was pretty cool. He pulls down the transport that these pirates are in, takes out an entire, what is it? I mean, it's like 5 or 6 people, but
yeah,
he just sort of casually takes them out and walks off into the sunset type of deal. So that was kind of, Wild Westy. And we get a kind of an interesting journey to Coruscant too, and we enter Padme's sealed apartment.
Which seems like a weird concept for a city like that, just to permanently seal off an apartment for one senator that has passed away.
Well, the thing is...
But it just kind of goes to how much everyone loved Padme, though.
Yeah, and this relates a little bit more to the story as it follows on, but the thing is like, Padme wasn't necessarily... She wasn't portrayed as like a traitor to the Empire. Mm-hmm. She was more like a martyr.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you're right. I mean, the Standing Testament is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It is an interesting thing. So anyway, they find a bug.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of a weird sequence of events here. The first time I read it, it's like, wait, are they still there? Did they leave? Because they didn't really show it.
Well, yeah, they find a bug, and then which takes them to Vendaxa, where we see a Gungan fighting spider crab.
I can't take any Gungans seriously, even in comic form. It's very difficult to do.
Well, of course, in the first panel, he doesn't say Yusa. He does only say, you gotta evac. So, apparently
he's
not
hardcore
Gungan. Not all Gungans talk like idiots. Well, guess what? We have Vader. He does a little slicey dicey and then gets quite a shock as we see a woman holding a blaster to him, and he says, Padme.
Yeah. Which I had known about a lot of this well before going into the comics, because this was a massive reveal when it first came out. It's like had the internet ablaze for weeks on end.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Padme's return from the dead. We're altering timelines. Vader turned good and, stuff.
God, no.
Well, anyway, we get a lot of flashy backs here in our second comic. I mean, a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, it starts with the flashbacks and it also ties it in later. But this woman that he encounters is not Padme. This is actually Sabe, one of Queen Amidala's handmaidens.
It's kind of disappointing that the droid points that out so quickly, too. It's like, kind of would have been cool if we had gone half a comic with him thinking it was her, just to see how he'd react.
Well, the droid is like the author's narrative voice.
Yeah.
Trying to push you in the right direction without any regard for anything else. But yeah, I don't know. It was interesting, but the sort of changing faces of Padme was interesting. But again, it's still flashing back to things that happen and things that are happening now. We show a panel where Anakin's choking Padme, and he's choking Sabe, and
seemed like the panel that for flashbacks that they focused most on was any scene where Anakin was around the handmaidens. It seemed like they really focused heavily on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as we kind of continue on here, because I don't know, I don't think there's like a whole ton of dialogue that I really care about unless there's something about you, but you actually have, in your version of this, you have what winds up being a panel a full-page panel as your cover, where we have Sabe and Vader fighting pretty much side by side, taking out these creatures. Which was kind of a cool moment, and I think that it felt like to me it could set up an interesting story where maybe Sabe she doesn't know who this is. This is actually Anakin. She doesn't know about what he would have done to Padme, but like they could team up and like have this sort of like angry kind of weird, almost like. I don't know. What was it? I believe it was I believe it was Malgus who had kind of like a paramour that rode with him, and they sort of did their killy thing, and it was kind of a fun relationship while it lasted.
Yeah, and Vader definitely tries to set it up that way because he's like, oh, we're trying to find out what happened to her to avenge her. The Empire was always on her side,
Yeah, and again, kind of that smear of like, no, if she was here, she'd totally join the Empire. I don't personally know.
Someone would believe that.
Yeah, I don't personally know that that's not true, and I tried to choke her because I was, turning to the dark side and then got my feet chopped off. But
I never gave her a chance to say she doesn't like the Empire, so I mean, clearly, just saying.
Wouldn't that have been interesting?
No, seriously, I'm cool with all this. It's fine.
Can't hear you.
She would have joined you, Anakin. We all would have joined you. We would have all been Imperial puppets with you, Anakin.
If you would have just been a little less emo and talked to us for once.
Yeah. Well, Sabe and Vader and Sassy Droid ride off into the sunset. Issue 3.
Hey, there we go. We got our new handmaid. Sassy. Droid.
So dumb.
Very.
Also, a very good cover on this one. Little back-to-back there. And, I didn't mention this, but so issue 2, I think that the artwork of Sabe seemed a little strange, like very young and misproportioned.
Yeah,
and then,
the variant issue 2 was quite a bit better, I thought.
Yeah. Well, issue 3, you get a little bit of the age lines, in the forehead, and she's a little bit more Padme-esque. Still kind of different, but a little bit more Padme-esque, which would have been the point of decoys.
See, I don't really see that in my issue 3. I see a lot of snowtroopers, but I don't really see your point.
Yeah, you have an Empire variant cover.
Yeah.
So anyway, issue 3, we return to Naboo.
We get the most epic scene ever. Vader and butterflies. Oh, Naboo. Probably thinking about talks about sand and whatnot, rolling through the fields.
Sabe, I don't like sand. It's rough and coarse. Would you like to eat some
kiwis
with me?
We're not doing this. Just stop. I already heard all about this. Stop.
I mean, would you like a kiwi? I could cut it for you.
She told me about that. You're just trying to do the same thing with me.
Yeah. Well, we kind of have an attack. Oh, man. Let's see here. Gregor Typho and Captain Tonra. This is a bit of an interesting issue because we start to hear names that we're familiar with, and we'll continue on with this, but kind of running through this a little bit quicker. There's sort of a weird convoluted plan. Okay, I'm saying this is a little convoluted because we board an underwater ship that kind of looks like the one that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were in at one point, in episode 1. And then they go to an underwater Gungan, part of the city.
Again, nostalgia.
Yeah. Oh, and coincidentally, let's talk about a little bit of power scaling here with Vader, because, apparently Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan didn't know that they could just, float out of the ship and just completely slice through all of these crocodile-like creatures.
Yeah.
But Vader can.
Yeah.
He's
and
this
is where we get, and this is where we kind of get into our obsession with creatures in this series, too.
Well, these are fine, I guess, in a way, because they are established.
These are better than some of the ones we get in later comics, for sure.
Yeah, I did. That was actually something I was gonna look up the names of the underwater creatures. So the OPC killer was the one that they first encountered. Mm-hmm. They encountered 2 of those, and Vader, swats them away, does a little stabby stab. And then upon entering the Gungan city, this little hub, it's not like the city, we see that, kind of a little motif of the joining of the Naboo and the Gungans at the very end of episode 1, where Boss Nass is holding up the little orb thing. You see a little Annie and young
handmaiden for no reason.
Hey, she had to be there. It's fine. Yeah. Old Senator Palpatine looking all creepy.
Yeah. I did nothing, but I'm a part of this.
Yeah. Well, we even have, Anakin pointed out, Sabe, that was Anakin, the Jedi that Typha mentioned. Even as a child, he served our queen. After she died, he vanished. We mourn his loss as we mourn hers. And this is the thing, the Naboo, they honor Anakin, and they mourn his loss. Again, not knowing that Vader is Anakin. Obviously, nobody really knows that. But they still have a great love for Anakin.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool to get to see that be acknowledged in front of him. It just kind of would have been nice to see him react in some way, even an inner monologue or something.
Yep.
Because I'm sure it made him stop for a second.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's kind of the point of Vader, though, is that you're never really knowing his inner thoughts. It would be an interesting dive if they were to do that, but I don't think a comic book would be the right medium, personally.
Yeah, a book would be much better for that.
But anyway, so we have a trap, because guess what? They all knew that he was in on it.
Yeah.
Because the last thing that they knew is that Amidala had went to Mustafar, and Mustafar is Vader's domain, and they know that.
Yeah.
So they attempt to bring down the Sando Aqua Monster that we saw in episode 1. There's always a bigger fish. That's what Qui-Gon said.
Yeah.
And they attempt to bring it down on Vader, but what does Vader do? Well, nothing, because that's the end of this issue. We have to move to issue 4.
Probably my favorite cover of all the issues, actually.
Which ones do you have the same cover as
4.
I do?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had talked about this. I kind of made it seem like it wasn't my favorite, and it is. It's just, it's
a
very extremely young Padme, obviously, at this point. So.
Yeah, here's the thing about this cover. It's intensely deceptive, but it's also so good.
Yeah.
It's basically Vader hugging Padme as she's sort of disintegrating into...
Just does the snap, gone, sand thing.
Yeah, kind of.
Are we allowed to do that since it's a Marvel comic?
I guess. I mean, we could. The crossover. It's a... You should have aimed for the head.
I feel funny.
Got it. But no, it's a cool cover, and I don't know. I think I want to talk about some stuff when we get through this, but there's a point that I want to make. We'll do it again at some point. So anyway, back with Vader with his, looking very tiny next to our sea monster.
Isn't this just kind of a ridiculous panel? Like, what are you swiping at? Like, what are you going to do to kill it swiping at its lower jaw? Are you deflecting something?
Yeah, it seemed kind of strange, but, the shuttle with the Death Troopers are, kind of on call here. They're shooting at it. But then Vader with effectively one stab through the top of his head.
Which I don't think your lightsaber would be long enough to pierce anything important, but okay.
Well, there is one saber that could have done
Yeah, but that's not canon anymore, It's just
anyway. So yeah, very quick resolutions to a lot of things like that, though.
The monster battles are ridiculously short in this.
Very much so.
You'd think they would be this epic onslaught, but they just didn't want to focus on that for some reason, which is fine.
Agreed. Well, anyway, we get towards the outskirts of the city of Theed, and we actually meet another character from episode 1. And this was, Rick Oley, who was the pilot aboard the Naboo cruiser that escaped the blockade. And he was the one who kind of taught Anakin a couple of maneuvers, maybe a few more than Han Solo knew, but just, taught him how to sort of fly the ship a bit. And I thought
I thought this was pretty cool.
It was, I thought it was neat. Naboo society is very interesting to me.
It is, and it's really nice to get something that focuses more on Phantom Menace era stuff, because obviously it's one of our favorite movies, and it's usually crapped on. So
yeah, but the other thing they say here is that they're not talking about being of Naboo. They're talking about being Amidalians.
Yeah,
like these are supporters and followers of the former queen and senator. They're there for revenge.
Yeah, which isn't that briefly mentioned at the end of Queen's Peril? Like in the flash forward scene, they do kind of reference themselves as that. I thought it was.
Yeah, it was. But anyway, it was kind of nice to see an old character. However, this little
very
battle,
short amount of time.
Yeah, the little battle doesn't really go our Amidalian's way, unfortunately, as Vader basically carves him up, and he stabs old Rick. But I will say this, he stabs him in the shoulder.
Could have survived.
Stabs him in the shoulder. He doesn't kill him necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it makes you think, Vader. Well, listen, Vader remembered this guy. Okay, he remembers this guy. I think he remembers everybody. I think that flashback is Anakin's flashback. So
and he had just gotten done cutting someone in half, so clearly he had some form of mercy on him.
Yeah, not anybody else though. He really hates Gungans. He killed all the Gungans.
You remind me of this one really annoying guy I hung out with as a kid.
Yeah. But again, the motif of when Rick is being stabbed here, he says for Padme and for Anakin. So again, it's not just for Padme. And okay, let me ask you this question: do you think that the entire planet of Naboo knew that Anakin and Padme were together?
I would be kind of surprised if they didn't, honestly.
Dude, I think they all knew. I think every single one of them knew.
Right.
Well, there's such an aristocratic kind of like artsy society. There's got to be a gossip log on there, man.
Yeah.
Like they're all like,
which kind of brings up another thing. Like if they reference them, I kind of wonder why they don't reference their children in the process as well, because they would have obviously known that Padme was pregnant. So
I think that was a little bit closer to the vest. I honestly do think that was.
Of course, that would bring down the hammer on them if they actually ever mentioned their children, obviously.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit closer to the vest than that, but at any rate. So eventually we make our way to Padme's tomb, where Vader is confronted by the remaining handmaidens.
Which is probably my favorite panel in this entire act.
Oh yeah, it's easily one of the better ones. And again, still having the flashbacks, remembrances of who these people were in connection to Anakin. But again, that stupid droid has to do the narration. But anyway, it's fine. We have Irte and Rabe, two of the Queen's earliest bodyguards. Sashay, who we established was a BA in Queen's Peril. She was tortured by the Empire. Dorme, who was, very close with Padme. And was that? Well, then obviously Sabe. And we kind of get a cool little battle.
Mini battle before, Vader goes to 5% power mode.
Well, they're battling with like staffs. And I mean, Sabe has her gun. And I want to say it's Irte who has one of the small blasters like Padme picked up in the throne room, if you remember that in episode 1. So anyway, I do think it's really cool to bring these ladies back. I mean, obviously we've had our E.K. Johnson books, but to stick them in here is neat. Unfortunately, again, they're really no match for Vader. Pretty cool panels though. I did like this one where everybody's like. Well, everybody's like firing on him, and they're like, double blastering him, from the sky and stuff. That was fun. But he defeats them and winds up going into the tomb. And that is the end of episode. Or I can't talk. Issue 4. These aren't episodes. And that is where we conclude our earlier podcast rehash. Now we're into new territory.
Yeah.
Sick cover for issue 5.
This is probably my second favorite. That is an amazing cover.
It's a sick cover. So it has the slice between Anakin and Vader, blue and red saber.
Kind of makes you remember Rebels scene with him
true.
fighting.
When he fights Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I kind of wish we could do an alternate timeline where Anakin actually didn't turn evil. Like, just have that somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we do it everywhere else. Not fanfic.
Well, I mean, there were talks at one point doing an alternate reality comic, which never went to fruition, but there was some concept art for it, and it had Anakin basically turning back to the good side after being burnt. And then he had like a light side armor suit.
Oh, really?
But his face was showing.
That's interesting. Well, in the 2019 version, there was a part in there
He has a dream, I think.
Well, he was trying to turn a kyber crystal. He was trying to bleed a kyber crystal.
Oh, yeah. It shows him a vision of what could have been. Yeah.
Yeah, about effectively going and killing the Emperor and then returning to Obi-Wan and trying to, gain forgiveness for that.
Yeah,
so, yeah. That was actually, again, 2019 version's pretty sick. Mm-hmm. So we're in Amidala's tomb. He opens her actual tomb. And, yeah. So Amidala was...
By the way, there are so many red backdrops in this. Art style really focused on red. Like, especially...
Yeah. Well, those were their flashback sort of deals. His remembrance. Yeah, he sees red, man. He's like a bull.
Mm-hmm.
But not in a China shop, because Mythbusters taught us that they're actually very careful creatures.
Very Star Wars related.
No doubt. Anyway, so we find a med implant. So Amidala was buried looking pregnant. They did that for a reason. Mm-hmm. So they figure out this implant and figure out that it's traceable. So we're going to another location. Yay! And what's interesting is like Vader basically just lets the handmaidens go. They just walk away.
Yeah.
which is
he kind of regrets that later on, but he regrets quite a few things later on.
Kind of. But, Sabe does try and warn the rest of Naboo that, hey, we've got new coordinates. And Vader's like, go, Sabe. Tell all your friends. Tell them to meet me. Like, okay. All right, Vader, you confident. Anyway, Polis Massa. That's where we're going. That's a name.
Yeah.
More flashbacks, and I know you had talked about the animation of Anakin. Was this your favorite panel? Liar!
The liar panel is the reason I said this.
That was
honestly.
that honestly was it's a bad animation. Hey, I get you. I get you there.
And then we get the least intimidating little fleet that ever could be.
Well,
with the Amidalans.
I don't know. I mean, like, you have two kind of cruisers, and okay. Notice the symmetry of this panel, like how everybody's like lined up. Really, it looks odd. It looks like
this wouldn't happen.
No, what was the shooting game like where you had the one single ship and like things were? Is it Metroid? Or is it not Metroid? Anyway, it was a shooting game.
Got little aliens coming down. It wasn't Centipede.
Centipede did a similar thing. I know that's not it, but Centipede did like a similar thing, but it was just a Centipede.
What was that called?
Yeah, I don't know.
Bugs the crap out of me. We played the crap out of that at Pins.
Yeah, but at any rate, it all looks up like very lined up, kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I don't really, to be honest, I don't really understand this because the firepower from these ships. How many Jedi or Sith do we know that deflect a bolt from a ship and direct it back to destroy the ship?
Okay, so this kind of gets into a territory that really needs to be left alone, but we'll just say it anyway. The mass of the bolt is the problem. It's not the power of the bolt. The thing would like deflect some of it back, but then on each side it would still come through because it's not just one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like a bullet.
True.
It's not just going to bounce back as one piece. It's just a beam of energy. So, yeah, this was kind of one of those power scaling things that I didn't really appreciate all that much.
Now, granted, he does have his Death Troopers on some weapons, planetary weapons.
Pretty sweet. Yeah.
So I mean, that seems to be doing the bulk of it. But yeah, him deflecting ship fire seems a little
meh.
Yeah, a little bit too nutty. We do have some ground troops, and I did like this one panel where Obi-Wan, after he cuts off Anakin's legs, and he's just sort of like flipping upside down.
I'm sorry, I laughed so hard when I saw that panel. Maybe it's wrong of me, but it just goes back to they make him look so dopey.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a little dopey for sure. And again, I feel like this series is really more interested in putting together these really large epic panels. Like there's a two full page.
Yeah.
Where, there's ships on fire, he's like, forcing something, his lightsabers doing stuff, his death troopers are there, people are dying.
Got an arm just flying up into the air.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I'll give you that. It is a cool panel. It's a sick panel. That'd be a neat poster, but still.
Yeah. You could just mount your comic on the wall as it stands.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we get to this med bay here where Amidala had the children. We find a burned out old droid and
And then we have the death of our little buddy.
I was happy about that.
I was too.
Yeah, Vader doing his best Ben Solo impersonation and killing his little droid companion.
Well, it's funny because, before that happens, the comment he makes and everything, leading up to this, I'm like, he's got to be getting really annoyed with this droid. We see that a lot in Afra, how annoyed he gets when someone's constantly talking to him. And you read that, it's like, there's no way this droid gets out of this alive after saying that. And then, right away. Yeah. Nice and satisfying.
No doubt. And then we kind of leave off to, this hologram of Padme saying there's good in him, I know. So that's solid.
Yeah, and we get a really, really cool flashback after that. We kind of have this regression of him through the ages as he's falling down the shaft. Just kind of going from Vader to a boy again after that comment.
Yeah, and I honestly, I kind of think that this is where the comic starts to leave the realm of what I personally thought we were going to start seeing. Because
There's a big
again,
shift here.
I wanted a Vader Sabe like adventure story, and what we get is very, very much different than that. The handmaidens don't come up, so we're just on to the Emperor, who is not all that happy with Vader.
No, he rarely is, though. Let's be honest.
True. Vader gets a little zappy zap. That's the end of that. Issue 6.
And by the way, the issue 6 shown at the end of this comic is way cooler than the one that I have. I have the Bounty Hunter. The Bounty Hunter is kind of boring to me.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that cover is pretty sick. I have the variant cover of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
This is no cave. Wait a minute. So here we start to get into the Into the Fire arc.
More
and
like ride the lightning, more like that, you know.
There you go. Hey, listen, Napster knows you can't use anything Metallica, so you can just ride the lightning without Lars Ulrich, all right? That's not a subtle dig at anything. Anyway, Vader is kind of attacked by the Emperor here. And, well, and the guards and
Masamada just giving him
all
kinds of crap.
Masamida is such a stupid character, but whatever, it's fine. So Vader is... this is essentially a test, an Emperor's test for Vader at this point, because, again, I think that there is real conflict in Vader here. You know, he mentions, it's like, you let the handmaidens go, you're soft, you know, you're weak. I'm going to have to teach you through fear. And he literally, like, rips off his legs and mechanical arms and everything. So we talked about this a little bit, but I start to wonder about the issues of power scaling in a way. Because if Vader can do all of these like crazy things that we've seen so far,
which weren't even really force related. That's more lightsaber skills than anything.
Well, I mean, if you're deflecting a ship bolt and we're talking about issues of mass,
I was thinking more
everything,
like the monster fights and everything. But yeah, definitely.
But still, you're going to have to get on it.
Yeah.
So there's ability involved in there. But my whole thing is that I guess I just don't understand how he continues to let the Emperor best him over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because we saw this in the 2019 version as well when Vader lashes out and then the Emperor's like puts him in his place. I don't know. It seems like comics like to really OP out the Emperor.
Yeah. Well, and truthfully, the only thing he has going for him against Vader is lightning, because his suit is so weak to it. But you'd think at some point Vader would start training to deflect it.
Yoda was able to do that with his hands.
Yeah. And of course, that's a known force ability that Anakin might not have, but at some point, you'd think he'd focus on that a little more.
Yeah, or even, whatever. You would think. So, the Emperor takes Vader back to Mustafar, right where he fell previously, and he burns him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he puts himself out pretty quickly throughout this. Well, the next two comics, actually. It's kind of odd.
Yeah. Again, just sort of like rehashing. It's like, this is how you got to where you're at. I'm going to teach you where you need to be type of deal. And I do think that a couple of little flashback panels to when he, in quotations, defeated Ben. I mean, it's debatable one way or the other. And then also the same panel, we see him in his mind, in quotations, kill the Emperor, slice the Emperor in half the same way. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And he also kind of leaves Vader with a warning. It's like, don't use the Force to pick yourself back up. Yeah. And then we get this assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Palpatine's favorite assassin, apparently.
Ochai of Bestoon.
Little Ochi.
Yeah, Ochi. Whatever, dude.
He was so boring. So very boring.
Yeah, whatever, dude. I don't know what to tell you. All right, let's move on to 7. 7, where all the Jedi, even the younglings, all of them. God, that's pretty messed up. I just wanted you to destroy the Jedi. You killed the women and the children too? How about that librarian?
I would never do that. Somewhere. I would never kill the women and the children.
Was that in like a Robot Chicken or something like that? Or
I think so. Yeah.
I feel like that was somewhere. It makes me laugh. Oh goodness.
I like how we get our little flashback to killing the Separatists, and then we just have one on the floor. It's a pretty sweet scene, actually.
Yeah, the Neimoidians.
Mm-hmm. Who apparently don't decompose all that much.
Not much, apparently.
I don't know how, what is that? 20 years, roughly?
No, less than that. Because like Luke and Leia were pretty young, if I remember correctly. Ages. I don't even care about ages. So anyway, he starts to scavenge parts here from droids.
Mouse droids are helping him with it. It's great.
Yeah, little mouse droid's still there.
He's like punching them, shocking them, short-circuiting them as they bring parts to him. And what we get? We get a B1 and B2 part, and I don't know what that leg's from on the left side as he's putting himself together.
That's true. I don't know. But yeah, he's got 2 new legs and a big old fat arm.
Because sweet if he had the blaster.
Yeah, that would have been kind of cool, actually. Then we have this bounty hunter, which apparently he is wearing Beskar. We'd have to assume.
I'd assume the spear is Beskar too, then, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to assume in this current time. Flippy flippies, chokey chokies, you're deads. A lot of really uninteresting dialogue for me in between Vader and this bounty hunter. I don't know. It's probably just me, but I just found their interactions really uninteresting.
Yeah. And by the way, I have one issue when they're fighting, when he's choking out Lil Ochi. He's just standing in lava.
He's got cool new legs, man.
So why couldn't IG have survived in Mandalorian?
If you're going to poke holes in everything, I'm going to have to turn you off.
That's fine.
No,
it just kind of makes me mad.
I hear you. I hear you. Maybe he wasn't in lava for too long.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Just having a bath in it, so.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to the actual aspect of the plan. The whole thing is that either the assassin kills him or he traps him in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
To speak to our new favorite character of all time that I totally pulled up his name, and I'm looking for it, and I'll find it. Yeah, the Eye of Webbish Bog.
Yeah. You know what I thought of when I saw the little cover for issue 8? I thought about the spiders from Jabba's hut.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of too.
It's just an organic version of that.
I'll be honest with you, man. again, I feel like now we're just full on like weird comic stuff. Like we're back with horses.
Yeah.
And the eye here also had, or was supposed to have a conversation with Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Rise of Skywalker, we see Kylo retrieve the Wayfinder. It's just a battle between the planet's inhabitants and his trooper units. Well,
it's just in a random container out in the open.
Yeah. But I guess what it was supposed to be was this eye just shows up on the head of a blind giant.
Yeah.
Let me repeat that. He is a spider-like creature on the head of a blind giant who can appear and disappear at will.
And that's why he's been banished to comic book world.
Yeah, I remember very, very vaguely when some of the concept art for the eye came out. And I think that very early speculation, if I'm remembering this correctly, I think very early speculation was supposed to be something connected to Plagueis, Darth Plagueis. And I don't remember how that whole rumor got started. But I don't know. It's such an inconsequential creature. But it kind of is reminiscent of like Bendu from Rebels, where it's like this, maybe it's a force. I mean, Bendu was definitely connected to the force, but like maybe the eye is like a force sort of entity thing with his giant baby looking thing that changes faces to what you're thinking.
It's just not something I enjoy at all. Someone might think this is epic, so I won't say much more, but
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to dog it, but it just seems a little silly to me. But with
everything
that being
about
said,
this specific comic does, honestly.
Yeah, but with that being said, the eye has the Wayfinder to Exegol.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole thing. And we also meet, and I let me actually re-look at this just a wee bit, because I want to say that I did indeed find the character, but I don't actually know if they say this character's name.
I think they do in the next one.
Well, anyway, if I've tracked this down, and we'll repeat if I have to. But I'm pretty sure that this is Sly Moore, who is an Umbaran female who is an aide to Palpatine, and we see her in the chamber. And I'm pretty sure that this is the same person. However, the kind of the way they portrayed her in the movie was having this like giant suit thing that like flared out at the bottom like really big. Like there was something going on. And now we see her and she's just wearing like normal clothes.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why she's important in this, I don't
Well, I mean, I just think that she's an extension of Palpatine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
She's, like Mas Amedda, she's potentially more sinister than Mas Amedda. We all know Mas basically is just, a scapegoat for a lot of things. But anyway, let's start to try and move on to our next comic where, Vader dismantles more things so that he can get parts.
Yeah. What cover variant do you have on this one?
This was one of the Empire, where
nice.
Chewie finds C-3PO.
I've just got the bounty hunter attack.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel Did I get that one for you?
Yeah, I didn't buy any of these separately.
I might have more covers elsewhere. I'm just saying. Anyway, let's roll through this. So very early in this comic, our assassin has assassin droids, and Vader
who wants his parts.
Yeah, the bots want his parts.
That's the payment they're getting.
But he wants their parts. And it's like a lot of everybody wanting each other's parts.
But then they're both like, oh, your parts suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your stupid parts are stupid because you've replaced your parts with parts that are already on this planet. Whatever, dude. I'm moving on.
Wonder how many Sith the bounty hunter has killed using the parts robots.
Yeah, whatever. Carnivorous parts robots. Well, anyway, Vader, we do have a ship here, which is... Do you remember where this ship is from? This little fighter?
As far as where it shows up?
No, I mean, where... I know I've seen this ship before. Was this one of Anakin's, former fighters, or...
Yeah, this probably would have been the one they... I'm not sure. It looks like one of his, yeah.
I'm going to try and look that up real quick, because it's... I'm pretty sure that it was one of Anakin's ships. I think it was. Yeah,
is it the Revenge of the Sith era,
Ectus class.
In the movie?
I think this was for the animated series.
Oh.
Yeah, it's ETA-2 Jedi Starfighter, or Actus class. So it's like a specifically Jedi ship. So yeah, that would have... I mean, I'm assuming... We're on Mustafar. I'm assuming this was one of his previous ships. So there you go. Getting little Clone Wars going on there, which is sick. All right. And Vader's captured the assassin. He's got the Wayfinder. He's scavenging droid parts to rebuild his ship. It's such a...
And we've got the hyperdrive dock.
Yeah, interesting that's there.
Interesting that it's there, and it's also interesting that it's larger than any other hyperdrive dock because it actually fits both of them perfectly. Because like in the movies, it's super narrow compared to this, but that's fine.
True.
Continuity be damned.
Right. Well, our assassin's in like a cargo container that's strapped to the ship, and it's like, no, you can't do it. It'll kill me.
The clamps.
It'll kill me, but it didn't. And then they're face to face with a giant Cthulhu squid thing.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just move on to issue 10.
It's kind of one of those times when this is the only one I'll say it. This is the one I wish I didn't have the 40th anniversary cover on. Because it's also really sick.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Which, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But which cover do you have for this one?
For 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
yeah, that's just awesome.
Yeah, Vader kind of fighting his way through sort of like a storm or something. It is pretty cool. But I mean, the Empire stock one, that one is a neat,
it's awesome.
It's
Don't get me wrong. I might have to buy the other one though.
That, unfortunately, is the problems you get into when you start buying these things. Let's see here. So we're up against Cthulhu.
Red space,
yeah.
Which apparently is flashback space.
Yeah, pretty much. The Empire does have a few ships here, so they're attacking Vader. And Vader is, kind of like the old days, picking off ties in his little...
We've lost 7 ties, 8, 9, 10... Nope, we've lost 11. Sorry, my bad. I'll just stop talking now.
Yeah. Again, like some pretty epic looking panels, but not a ton going on. I mean, aside from a space battle. And there seems to be some significance with this creature, old Cthulhu-mon.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially a psychic being that's genetically modified itself to hunt its own species, so nothing really matches it but itself, I guess.
Do you think it's like a Borgullet type of situation here? Just more psychic?
Maybe. The only thing I wish is they would have actually displayed the psychic powers, like cause some ties to crash into each other or something.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. It just kind of swatted them, really, or they ran into it. But it starts to show Vader a couple of encounters throughout his life. We have an encounter with Old Ben, and we have a kind of a neat. I don't know. Like I know we've dogged on the flashbacks, but I kind of, in a way, sort of like these. Sort of.
Yeah.
But again, they are rehashing things that we've already seen. Like it seems like the ideas have not been very prevalent yet. Because in the next couple pages we have, encountering Luke while this Vader is like looking on. So he's almost like looking on himself.
Right.
And he's not a part of it. He's like a spectator.
Yeah, and we get some kind of trippy alternate universe things, like Luke's the one standing above Anakin and Mustafar while he's burning, and then we actually have a variant where Luke ends up killing Vader and walks off with the Emperor.
Yeah, and the assassin kind of says towards the end of here, did he show you how you were going to die?
Right.
Like this creature can show you how you're going to die. And we'll get a little bit more in depth, but I don't know. I do think it was interesting that last panel. Yeah, he kills Vader, leaves the lightsaber like literally in him, and then joins with the Emperor and walks off. And then he's out. Then Vader's out of the nebula. It's over. He passed the Cthulhu's test. Yeah?
What's the test?
I don't know, man.
It's the power of friendship.
Yeah.
You passed the power of friendship test.
Yeah. Now, here's another thing that I actually found a little bit annoying. You notice how
scaling?
How in the animation you're trying to show the scope of this monster, right? But then you have these like magnified panels where it's like you have a little manila circle around him pointing to a larger circle that magnifies Vader.
Yeah.
And like in several panels, they're just like highlighting where Vader is.
Right.
It's stupid. It's like, help me, mommy. I can't possibly read this comic on my own. Where's Vader? Yeah. What?
Where's Waldo with a lightsaber?
I just thought it was, I don't know. I thought it was needless, but maybe you can't spot Vader. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird. I don't know that I've seen that. Of course, I'm not a huge comic guy.
I mean, it just would have made more sense had they just, had a little blip with him saying something to point him out.
True.
If they had, if they felt the need to do that.
Yeah, chat bubble. Well, this is also the point where Cthulhu is kind of coming at him. He didn't let him go. And Vader starts to use the Force, and, Assassin's like, oh, he'll kill you. You're not supposed to do it. Blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of rides Cthulhu to this, little installment on Exegol.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a horse, instead of a horse, he rides a Cthulhu.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? Well, that's actually it. That's it for our 10 issues here. Issue 11, again, does go on sale quite a while. Mm-hmm. April 28th. And they have a little subheading here. What terrifying secrets of Sithly power Does Emperor Palpatine hide on Exegol? Will Vader's might be enough to defeat the Dark Lord of the Sith? Tune in next time on Dragon Ball Z.
I hope this is the first time the word Sithly has ever been used.
Dude, Sithly, whatever. I don't know, man. So there is an interest, and the sort of artwork here is like showing Vader seemingly surrounded by, I mean, we're potentially calling these like the acolytes on Exegol, but they all have sabers.
Yeah.
So I guess my thought is, are these clones? Are these Palpatine clones?
My thought is, if it is the acolytes, why did they banish the fact that they have sabers and they're combatants to comic book world? Like, why wasn't that in the movie?
Let me ask you something here. Let me throw something down at you. When we're on Exegol here, in the comic versus the movie, looks very different.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put a what-if scenario in your head. What if the Emperor doesn't know what's going on right now? And what if Vader...
he doesn't know about Exegol yet?
No, he knows about Exegol, but he doesn't know that Vader's on Exegol and what Vader's doing, which is kind of far-fetched because there's ships. But anyway, let's just say for the sake of argument, the Emperor doesn't know what Vader does here, and Vader just tears stuff up. Mm-hmm. Like, when we're talking about defeating the Dark Lord of the Sith, he's killing clones, right? Left and right, which leaves Palpatine at a bit of a disadvantage when Vader throws him down, which leaves him in this like deteriorated, crappy state because Vader went in and wreaked havoc on everything.
Right. He would have had more pure clones before that happened, and maybe he destroys them all.
I don't know. I mean,
he just has like this strand of DNA left that's not enough to make a good clone.
Well, this particular clone variant, we couldn't really figure out fingers. So you're going to have bone fingers for the most part, and you're going to be super old. It was like at the very end, like we were just splitting too much. We couldn't do it. There's fading, replicative fading. What, don't you know about this? Haven't you watched sci-fi?
But we got this cool motorized backpack thing for you, so you're fine.
You'll be like a scorpion. You know, get over here. It'll be great. And all you have to do is make somebody kill you. So you can transfer your essence.
This is what you wanted, right, sir?
This is
what you paid for, right?
Signed up for. You know, I wish this comic took a slightly different turn. I really, and I know, listen, I know that these things aren't written for me. I'm not conceited in that way, but I do kind of wish we got a little bit more of a Handmaid's Tale with Vader. Like, maybe there was deception. Maybe they did, for some odd, twisted reason, sort of like, maybe they helped him a bit along the path of, like, helping turn him away because, like, this is as close to Padme as you're going to get. I mean, wouldn't it have been interesting if, like, Sabe told him a story, like, from their past and maybe, you know, hey, I remember this one time Anakin did this really cool thing and Padme laughed and then, you know, they had, you know, we all knew that they were together. Everybody on Naboo knew it. They were just waiting for them to, like, you know, live it up over here. And I think it would have been interestingly impactful if Sabe were killed in front of Vader, giving him, again, further reason, you know, it's like, it's happening again. It's happening again. And in that moment, you have the pushing from your son, but you also have in the back of your mind, it's happening again, and I will not live this same life again. And I will not make my son live this same life again either. Because again, Luke senses good in his father. So he's just prodding what's already there, right?
Yeah.
And we're not trying to diminish what Luke did because he helped turn his father, but he realized that there was already good there, so he focused on that. But what if that good in him was a contribution from the handmaidens that knew his wife probably better than he did?
Well, and you could also say, just like the little recording, him actually getting to see her make the comment, "There's good in him, I know there is," could have attributed quite a bit too, because her opinion would probably matter a little more than Luke's, let's be honest. And I don't know, there's so many different things they could have done with this. Like, they could have tweaked the timeline a little bit and, like, made the reveal that this is how Vader finds out that Luke had a sister, not that he just sensed it through the Force, you know.
Yeah, but see that I actually good thing you brought that up, because I actually thought about that as we were talking about it. That would have been a huge retcon, though.
Yeah.
That would have been a huge problem.
It would have been impossible to do, probably.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't go there, because you're right. It would have been an interesting thing to have. Oh, there were twins.
Mm-hmm.
But
it could have also not been a retcon in a way. Like, it could have been him toying with Luke in a way, like, had the information but twists it to make Luke think that he's more powerful and clairvoyant than he actually is.
Well, but I think that was the point, is that Luke wore his heart on his sleeve, and he didn't necessarily hide himself away from his father. And so, being that they had that bond, he was able to sense what was in Luke's mind and in his heart. So
true,
I think that lends itself a little bit more to the connection between the two of them. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. It does not have to be a retcon at all. But I feel like I don't feel like that would have been the right choice for me personally.
There's just so many things that I think we'd both like to see with the handmaidens. Like, you know, the story could be fleshed out so much. Did they ever, like, try to pursue Padme's children and help them in some way? Like, did they want to become the handmaidens of Leia at some point, but they weren't able to? Like, there's just so many things they could have done with them, and they still can. I mean, we have another book coming out, so we have that to look forward to.
Yeah, but I mean, as you know, sometimes we connect some dots, but we don't connect all dots. The realization that Ahsoka is alive during Luke's lifetime means that they probably should have been able to meet.
Right.
Are we ever going to connect those dots? I don't think we were.
I think we're close as we ever could be, just kind of with the tie-in with Mandalorian. But
I think it's dumb that we
there's
don't.
There's just a lot of things that I think they don't have the time to flesh out. There's just so many things.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I'm going to call BS, because, like, there are so many good writers. I mean, think about, like, Claudia Gray being handed this idea from Dave Filoni, and he says, hey, I'm just using names, but I mean, Claudia, I think, would do it justice. Hey, Claudia, guess what? We're going to have an event where Luke and Ahsoka meet. Write it. Mm-hmm. Like, write a book and contain that moment somehow. Or, hey, we're going to have this moment where, like, I don't know, Leia meets one of her mother's handmaidens, and they look at her and they say, God, you look like your mom. Yeah. Like, those are things that I think could have been done. I think that they can be done super easy. I think Star Wars at times overthinks a lot of things, and then they don't do the really simple tie-ins that would provide the feel-good moments that we really want. And I think that's what JJ tried to do with Rise of Skywalker. I think he tried to give people those feel-good moments, like, you know, with Rey and Kylo. I mean, that's not necessarily my thought with that relationship, but it made a lot of people happy. You know what I mean? Luke coming back and not being a dick to Rey. You know, I think that made a lot of people happy, and it should make a lot of people happy. But, you know, I feel like we could very easily tie this stuff in if only we want to. But right now, everything is so focused on High Republic, and I don't see it happening right now.
Yeah.
Or probably ever, for that matter.
I mean, we do have a lot coming up that isn't High Republic, but it doesn't really lend itself to fleshing out these stories, really. I mean, like the Acolyte series and Book of Boba and all that. It's not really the stuff we would choose to flesh out, so I don't...
You know, every time I hear Book of Boba, I think about, like, the drink, boba. Like, it's a restaurant. Like the Book of Boba, where you go get boba tea.
Right. It'd be like the Star Wars equivalent of Jimmy Buffett's 5 o'clock somewhere restaurant.
All right. Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that this series could have been something very cool, very different. Very different. I'm not saying this isn't cool. But what I am saying is I feel like it could have been very different and also still very cool.
Yeah.
And again, like I know people point to, well, you had 2 books, and now you just said we're going to get a third book, with Padme and all her handmaids. Like, yeah, but like,
More.
it would kind of be cool to like, and again, I don't know if this happens because I do have some of the Star Wars Adventure series, which is, kind of like the kid level comic. So maybe they had some stuff in there, which would be kind of cool. But all I'm saying is like, sometimes, interacting with other people and, is neat as well. Like, whatever. I don't, we're throwing so much at Disney Plus, and you couldn't write me Star Wars mini adventures, in different eras like they did with Forces of Destiny on a different scale, or like the adventure comics where, it's like a one and done adventure. Hey, Obi-Wan and Irte are going out and doing something for some reason. Or, hey, maybe you could tell us a story of how the Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan hooked up. Oh, is that something you want to touch? No, you don't, even though it would be totally sick. You rip our hearts out. Come on, man. I want to see more of that.
Well, and we kind of had that with I wonder how Luke got his lightsaber back. Well, here you go. But there's just so much more they could dive into. So much more.
The main Star Wars line
important things.
The main Star Wars line feels really good.
It does.
It feels really good. This feels like horses, like horse comic, like Dark Horse, whatever that particular brand was. But
like it could have ended before the Emperor's punishment, and just that could have been it.
Yeah,
almost.
And well, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about, why would Vader know about Exegol?
Right.
I don't know.
There's just some things that you don't need to tie together.
Yeah.
It's a different era of the Sith. It's like trying to tie together, oh, Vader once interacted with Nihilus. What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's a big time jump. I mean, it didn't have to happen. You don't have to have Exegol be a part of this generation. You just don't.
Yeah. But I will say this. It does make me wonder what will happen in issue 11. And I think that might, I hope it's a fun conversation. I hope they really do throw a cool, if not a curveball, maybe a nice sinker, just a little bit of spin on that bad boy, Doesn't have to be a 90-mile-an-hour fastball every time. You can put a little bit of nasty on it. You can throw a good old Vaseline spitball all day long if you want. Rub a little dirt on that thing.
You're losing people.
Sports. Darn it.
But, we were just talking about...
Hey, spring training is going on, all right? I'm just saying.
But, we did just talk about, little mini stories. I want to know what happened here. They might end up doing that in Act 3. They might. I've never personally been like, man, I just got to know more about the Acolytes or the clones. But there's probably a lot of people who do. So
no, for sure.
Hopefully they get what they want.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we've made peace with that, I think, here on our show. Not everything's made for every person. Sometimes you're going to have different people who like different things.
And that's what's cool about the scope of Star Wars. I mean, there can be... people who are over here obsessed with the Mandalorians way before the TV show came out, and we didn't care about them at all. And, they got their content, and we were fine over here obsessing about Jedi stuff,
True.
There's just something for everybody.
Well, it's like, I like Thrawn. I thoroughly enjoyed the Thrawn books, but not everybody's a Thrawn person.
There's a lot of people who don't. There's a lot of people who just don't understand the writing style. There's a lot of people who don't like his... his power scaling, as we keep talking about, he's Mary Sue. It's
it's
just not for everybody.
Basically what we're trying to say is instead of cutting us our, daily Disney checks, I think what you need to do is hire us on as like executive head writer, CEO, VPs, and just let us make decisions for you.
It's like, whatever level Filoni's at, can we just start there?
Nope, got to be higher than that. So what we're saying is we are going to Mike Zero Kathleen Kennedy and take her job, and we'll share it, and then...
Dyad in the Force.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's happening. The dark and the light have combined. Dyad in the executive office.
And then Palpatine shows up.
Yes, just as I planned.
What?
I had to get
Loiter.
I had to get rid. Yeah, I had to get rid of that Kathleen. She was ruining my plans for domination. Now the two of you will...
Hey, hold on a second. I'm on a call, okay? All right, Pop Palps, just give me a second.
Just write me down so you will take in my essence.
I'm going to HR with this. If you don't stop it, there will be no essence swapping in this office, okay? Get out of here.
Plus, Darth isn't even here. He took a vacation day, so, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah, and cue the office music, God. That sounds like a Robot Chicken sketch if I've ever heard one. God, is that? I don't think that's even still going on.
I don't think it's still a thing now.
Yeah, we're boomers, couple boomers boomering it up. So anyway, folks, I think that's about it for the comic. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we kind of sign off for the day?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a dive into the comic series again. It's not necessarily our strong suit, but we enjoy all the media that comes out, and we try and cover as much as humanly possible. We have a lot of plans coming up for, a ton of new shows and, content and all that good jazz. So if you, the best way to keep up with everything is just listen, because we don't do much on social media. Mm-hmm. But you can follow us on Twitter at TC Plan Podcast, Facebook. We have our Patreon if you want to support, but it's fine. You don't have to. But yeah, I guess aside from that, that's it for us. So you guys have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.